Come here.
Eric.
Come on, you want up?
Yeah, probably in the recording. Yeah, here it is. There we go. Ah, good. Perfect. So I think I'm gonna get this thing started off here. Yeah, 5:02. We'll get this thing getting off. So just keep in mind, I'm gonna mute everybody, just so you know. Just to keep everything nice and clear while we're doing this. I am recording this, so if you do pop out of it at any point in time, don't worry. I will post this later, so you'll be able to see everything. Give you a little idea of what we're doing today. I'm just gonna do a quick presentation about food prep, things to think about when you're going through food prep, and a couple steps that I tend to think of and go about. And then I'm gonna actually food prep. Now, that being said, I'm gonna go through the process of food prepping, and I've already prepped stuff. So, so I'll show you exactly kind of my process for a couple things for a meal for the week. And I'll tell you kind of how I go about it, and then I'll be able to kind of magically be like, and now it's done. Ta-da. So just starting off, I'm gonna do a very quick kind of PowerPoint presentation. Kind of lame, I know. But it'll take a good 10 minutes or so, and then we can transfer into the other side. At any point in time, if you guys have questions, go ahead and put them into your chat. I have this incredible helper with me, Amelia. She's gonna be kind of hiding away from the screen, but she'll be able to take a look at those, see those as those pop up, and when I get the perfect opportunity, boom, I'll answer your questions. If you have some questions, you want to wait until the very end, and then I'll also do a little question and answer thing at that time as well, and I'll unmute you so we can kind of talk and answer those things easily enough. But starting off, let's show you my presentation. Totally throwing everything off. Sorry, guys. Perfect. Now, hopefully I can, everyone can see the presentation. You cannot see me though, unfortunately. No worries there. I hope my voice is enough. So today we're gonna be talking meal prep basics and a couple of the steps to success. Remember, proper prior preparedness prevents piss poor performance. The 7 Ps of just being awesome. So first off, and this I start with most everyone who deals with nutrition, is a small self-assessment. And starting off with that is, what does success look like for you? What are you looking to attain? Whether that is a weight-oriented goal, a body fat-oriented goal, whether that's a lifting-oriented goal or a movement-oriented goal. Start to decide what those are like. A lot of times people tell me specific successes that don't translate well. And by that I'd be saying, like, for example, I want to look good naked. Is a very arbitrary answer to that question. And is that look good to you? Is that look good to others? And what is that look good look like? Does it have a certain weight, or it can be a little tricky? So I always try to make those things as specific as possible as you guys go through there, so that you know what you're shooting for as you start to meal prep. Because here's the thing, if you're not motivated to do it, you won't do it. It's very simple like that. So find what that motivation is for you, whether it's your family, whether it's your kids, whether it's certain types of movements, whether it's being able to just get up off the couch and run a mile at some point in time in your life. Beyond that, what has worked well for you in the past when it comes to food? You can learn a lot as you practice with these diets. I tend to say people don't fail at diets. They learn about diets, and then maybe they just don't follow them very well. But there is a side of those diets that you do learn that you find work well for you. Me personally, for example, I try to avoid rices and spaghettis not because they're bad for you, because I have trouble eating in moderation those types of foods. And so I've found that if I do start with them, I will eat too much of it. So I try to avoid those things, and I introduce other pieces that I can have in bulk, like broccoli or cauliflower, or I'll introduce more fruit on that side to give myself more balance. I know that about myself. I try to avoid those things. And then what do you struggle with most? Is it that you struggle with quantities? Is it that you struggle with the timing throughout the day? Maybe I'm not eating breakfast, I'm not eating lunch or dinner. It could be that you are struggling with the quality of your food. I find myself always going for fast food and not having full whole vegetables all the time, or fruits, etc. And then what is inhibiting you from seeing results? And I would say, like, one of the big things is you do have to look at your surroundings. You have to look at who you live with. Are your family on board with what you're doing? And then finding ways around that. It can lead to some awkward conversations, but those are how we learn. That's how we grow. So do keep in mind, like, for example, I've been in relationships where candy has been brought into the household in an abundance. And I try as best I can to avoid it, but I do know that I have trouble with that. So even just having it where we find things I do not like that they like, so that if they do bring it in, I have very minimal temptation towards those things. That can show that support for you and potentially even help the whole family as a whole. So keep those in mind as you start to develop those whys. Why am I doing this? What is that success for me? It can really help to keep that consistency, keep that push, keep that drive that you're looking for with your nutrition. Now, step one, creating a plan. And I'll say what that would look like in a basic sense is if you had a list out, for example, for us, and Amelia is way better at this than I am, is that she actually will write out what our dinners are going to be through the week. Monday through Friday, we have dinners that are specific, and then we have some extras options that we can use for weekends, with the occasion that, yeah, we might go out for a night. Now, as you build those things, start to think about what your protein is going to be, whether you're going to be having some chicken that you've already prepped, whether you have marinating some pork tenderloin, whether it's baked tofu that you're going to be setting in. Start to think of those options and make sure that you are either marinating, you're setting those up in your fridge, you're defrosting those pieces so that they're ready on the day that you're going to make that food. Your starches, whether it's rices or quinoa, sweet potatoes, find something that you can have that makes it easy for you to cook, and then you can easily make a lot of those pieces ahead of time and have them for several days. Vegetables, those are one of the hardest ones for a lot of people because, one, they spoil quickly, and they're a very bulk item that turns into not a whole lot of actual substance. I can buy 12 bell peppers, but if I actually cook those up, I probably have only a few cups of actual leftover vegetables. So making sure that I have enough left over, maybe I have them set up in the freezer and I have mixtures of stir-fry vegetables, or just extra pieces that I may need in later times. One of my favorite being like green beans from the can, just in case. And then what fats am I going to be using? Am I going to be cooking with olive oil? Am I adding avocado to those pieces? A big one also to make sure that you're thinking about is maybe perhaps my fat is already in my meal due to I am sauteing my vegetables in olive oil, or perhaps I'm eating a steak. I'm having a higher fat meat content. And so I'm already going to be hitting my fat goals. Now I need to be worrying about where are my vegetables coming from, and then a small bit of starch. So take some time it doesn't have to be 100% this day is this day is this. It can be as much as, hey, we want these 4 meals this week. What do we want to do today? Or what do we want to do tomorrow so that we can set that up so that we can be ready on that day? Some pro tips I tend to recommend is, 1, have 2 to 3 protein staples for the week in the freezer or in the fridge. A lot of what the good ones we tend to have is we pre-marinate pork tenderloins and we throw them into the freezer. We do it with chicken so that we can have that set and ready. And we usually always have something like a pre-made meatball or a sausage that's easy to throw in a microwave and keep me on target, that I can add my vegetables to and just go for a really quick meal. So make sure that you have 2 or 3 good staples that are prepared for the week ahead of time. Stock up your freezer with things that are easy to defrost and get ready. So similar to those meatballs or something like that, freezer staples, really a great job with that could be your stir-fry vegetables, or you have frozen fruit that you have set up in there. Many of the meals that we're going to make, like today we're going to be making egg muffins. Those can be made, thrown in the freezer, defrosted out later for eating at a different time. So you don't have to worry specifically about, hey, I'm cooking it and throwing it in the fridge. We can freeze it for later. Always make sure you have plenty of veggies. I know I'm stressing that one multiple times. So make sure you're hitting plenty of vegetables. If you need some ideas to create a good list, to organize your sides, the healthystepsnutrition.com/healthy recipes website is where most of what we're doing today is actually coming from. So super easy for you guys to be able to pop that in and look for options that might be really good for you and tickle your fancy. You might see something you really like. Executing the plan. So this is the big side. A couple things that we recommend. Not always are they 100% you need them, but they are some really helpful pieces. 1, a crock pot. You can pre-make entire meals, throw them in the crock pot like pot roast with a bunch of carrots and onions and a little bit of garlic. You can throw that in frozen and then have that at low all day for 8 hours, come back home, and boom, you're set up for a meal already ready to go. Muffin tin, that's one of the things we are going to be using today. I'll show you that for when we're making our egg muffins, but you can do that with multiple different pieces, and it really keeps quantities down to a perfect serving size. The air fryer is a great option for you if you're looking for something crispy, but you also don't want to deal with the incredible amounts of fats that fried food tends to bring with it. You can make crispy vegetables, you can make chicken tenders, and really eliminate a lot of the bulk carbs and fats that we tend to add to a lot of our proteins, etc. A roasting pan and baking sheet, those tend to be almost 100%. We're going to be using one of those today as well, and I'll show you that. 3 compartment containers, I'm going to be using those today as well. I'm going to be using those to show you when I'm done what my meals would look like for the to-go side of lunches, but that doesn't mean I can't use them for breakfast or dinner as well. And then always you're going to need a scale and some measuring cups. Those are the easiest way to keep track of what you are putting into your recipes as you go so that you can stay on track in your MyFitnessPal and you're hitting your numbers to the right side. Now, this little picture here, keep in mind there are a lot of things we can do. Like today we're doing pulled chicken. So using the Instapot and a chicken, all we did is make a certain amount of meat that we can now use in multiple different meals. I don't have to eat the same thing. Perhaps I'm going to throw that in some tacos, or I'm going to throw it on top of a salad. I might throw it in a soup or even mix it in with a sweet potato. There are so many options, and all you got to think of is, what do I want to have? What flavor am I looking for? Maybe I'm going to mix it in with pesto, Alfredo, or a marinara sauce. Anything like that can change the flavor of something so that you're still eating that healthy side that you're looking for. You prepped it, and it has made it so much easier, but you're not stuck always eating the same thing. Now, today, what are we making today? So today, we're going to make our egg muffins. This is a generalized recipe that you can find on the Healthy Steps Nutrition website. We're going to be making a very similar side meal, so it'll have relatively the same ingredients, and I'll show you those here in a second, how I go about it. Secondarily, we're also going to be making some pulled chicken, some zucchini, just roasted zucchini, We are gonna make some rice, so we have good starches. And then I'm not making fruit, but I bought fruit so that I have it for my lunches or for my breakfast that I'm gonna be making here at the end of this today. Now, tracking progress. So let's kill this side. I'm gonna go back to this. Hold on for just a second. Good. Back to me. So now we're gonna start in on the actual food side. Now, couple things that I wanna go about first off is I'm gonna attack the meal portions of my food prep that I can put in minimal amount of effort, but have a little bit longer cook times. So first off, I'm actually gonna start off with chicken because we're gonna throw it in the Instapot. And this is one of the easiest things that we can do, honestly, probably today. So I'm gonna turn this over here. I got my Instapot here, and this is as simple as using frozen chicken. So with this, if you've ever used an Instapot, they're super simple. All you gotta do, you don't even have to touch the meat if you didn't want to. You just gotta throw it in. And I've already cooked some, so I'm just throwing one of them in right now. And then I'm gonna throw a bit of salt in there. And I already have some water in there, but I would add about 1 to 2 cups of water. Basically, the Instapot is gonna have a little metal barrier at the bottom. You're gonna fill the water until it hits the metal barrier. And then the meat's gonna sit on top, and that's what's gonna cook it up and not burn it and make it kind of funky. If you do not have water in your pressure cooker, my Instapot, your pressure cooker, if you don't have water in there, it's gonna turn off because it needs that water to actually heat up. It'll start to burn and it goes, there's something wrong with it. And so it'll just turn off. So make sure you have your waters in it. I'm gonna actually set it in, pressure cook, 15 minutes, and literally that's it. I hit pressure cook, I walk away. Now it's gonna cook for 15 minutes. At 15 minutes, it will stop and then it will slowly release its pressure. As it releases pressure, just let it sit there. We're not in a rush for that. And plus we're gonna just mix it in and shred it into shredded chicken. So once I get that done and set, it's just gonna let sit for basically until I'm done cooking almost everything. And then I'm gonna pull the meat out, shred it up with a knife or with a fork and knife in a metal bowl. And then I can just set it aside for the next piece. Next piece would be rice. And I know this is a highly simple thing, but I am also shockingly surprised at many times how many people just don't understand how to cook rice. I'm gonna try to make it as easy as possible. First off, cleaning the rice. Oh, I put it over here. We use a strainer. This is as easy as it gets. I'm gonna actually take a measuring cup, 1 cup measuring cup. I'll take my full scoop of rice right up to the top and pour that in. From there, I wash it around in the sink, get it all cleaned off. I'll throw it into my pot. And then I'm going to add just shy of 2 of these. Usually it's about 2 to 1 water to rice. I like to go just a little bit shy, like 1 cup and 7/8 of a cup. That being said, I'm kind of eyeing it, but full, throw in my 2. I throw in a bit of rice. I put it on high until it boils. I put it on as low as humanly possible. So 10 until it boils, put it to 1, put the top on, 15 minutes. At 15 minutes, I turn off the burner, I leave it on the burner and just let it sit. Once again, super simple side, but I'm just getting things done that I know just need to cook. So eventually I have my rice already set up as that side. Rice is done. The next part is gonna be just my zucchini. Now, this is where I'm gonna need Amelia's help to kind of do a little side. I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna cut up my zucchini. So I got these beautiful, and I will say this is a, thank you very much, Jacqueline, for the zucchini. I have already cooked up some zucchini, but just to give you guys kind of an idea of how we go about this side. You could actually lift it so it looks down on the camera. Thank you. So first off, I'm gonna put this into quarters. I'm just gonna cut down the long side, which will leave me 2 halves, and then I'm gonna do it one more time. Now, from here, easy part, I'm just gonna cut down these zucchinis to be left with a bunch of smaller sections. Now, I'm not the best cutter in the world. I know some people that are much better, but always remember, fingers on the inside, press your knife to that edge side of your knuckles. That way you never cut yourself. Never cut with your fingers out into that side, or you will also cut your fingers. And that's really inconducive to prepping and cooking your food. That will pretty much stop you in your steps, and then you will forget about your pulled chicken and all of your rice you already started to cook. Now, once I start to get this kind of all set up, cooked up side, I'm just gonna get a big bowl, and I'm gonna start throwing all my zucchini in that bowl. Now I'm gonna get this other side done really quick. Let's see how fast I can get it done.
While you're doing that, we asked
Yeah.
if we would consider cauliflower rice to be a starch or a vegetable.
Cauliflower rice would be a vegetable. The reason for that is because, well, in all its reality, it's just not yet a starch. Just because it is smaller in size and you get a little bit more of it in bulk side, doesn't give it the same carbohydrate drive. So it's not quite like rocket fuel yet. You're still working a perfect vegetable that has a ton of nutrients in it. The biggest side is just making sure that you know what weight you're eating. It'd be the same as if you were measuring out cauliflower stuff. Total vegetable, really good question. I love that one.
She also wants to know if you always need to have a starch.
You do not always need to have a starch. That's a really good question too. I was actually going to talk about that later. For example, as I said, rice, spaghetti, not so great for me. So what I like to do is eat fruit. Starch, not exactly the biggest side for me that I tend to enjoy with a meal, but fruit still gives me that kind of more high octane carbohydrate, especially for like after workouts or before workouts, etc. So like timing of that can be really, really helpful. And fruit tends to be one of my biggest go-tos on that side. So solid, yeah. And keeping in mind, if I don't want to have starch and I just want to have a ton of vegetables, that would be a great option as well. Keeping in mind that you're going to still need quite a bit to make sure you still hit your calorie counts for most people. Now, if you're still having trouble trying to keep within your calorie counts, then yes, higher up the vegetable side and start to cut down on the starch side. Once I've gotten all my zucchini in a bowl all chopped up, I'm going to add in salt and pepper. Where did I put my other salt? Oh, there it is. I am a saltaholic. That being said, put in some, don't go crazy. You can always add salt on top later and it tastes just as fine. Salt, to let you guys know, yes, be careful if the doctor says you have some hypertension, like obviously. But as athletes, we need salt. We're constantly sweating. We're constantly burning. Salt's an electrolyte that we require in our systems. So it does need to be careful that we are with that. But if we do have pre-existing conditions, talk to your doctor. I'm not a doctor. So they would have a very good idea for you specifically. But salt is a great thing. And here's the thing. I see this all the time when it comes to salt, is that people are so afraid to use it because they've heard all this, like salt's bad for you. Got to be careful about hypertension. So instead of cooking their own meals and adding salt, they just go, I can't deal with the anxiety of putting salt on my own food, so I'm just going to go and grab food. And when they go and grab that food, they're going to probably get something that has salts and contents that are far higher than they would ever add to any of their meals. So do keep that in mind as you go through there, that add some salt, make sure things are flavorful, because if you don't like it, you're not going to eat it. And then likely you're going to search out foods that would be even further unhealthy comparative to the ones you would have made, even if you thought in your mind, oh, but there's fats in it and too much. Don't worry about that so much. Let's make food good, and then we'll work on trying to make sure quantities are set in really set size. Now, once I've got my salt and pepper in here, it's oil time. Now, this is where, once again, your measuring cups really, really, really make their weight in gold. So I've got my tablespoon, and I've got my little olive oil pourer. Now, what I'm going to do is just do 1 tablespoon. And then I'm going to mix these around in the bowl and see if that gives it a good coating. Because here's the thing, olive oil can be tricky. It can spread out really well as I fling zucchinis on the floor. It can spread out really well, and you don't tend to have too much. So actually, I'm gonna go with just a tablespoon. If you could see, there's a pretty, oh yeah, there's a good sheen on there. That's nice. So once I've got my olive oil, my salt, pepper all set in, that's as easy as I get. I don't have to go harder than that, and it'll still taste delicious. You want to, there's tons of mixed spices you can get. I know I've talked about like Traeger spices before. Really, really, really solid side. Just making noise. I got this at Costco the other day. It's just a regular Traeger spice. That says Traeger, even though it looks like Rigarte. Traeger. And this is just their general rub. So this works for meats, for chickens. Honestly, I put it on vegetables, and I was like, dang, pretty solid. And as you can see, it has a whole 0 fat, 0 protein, 0 carbohydrates. It does have some sodium salt. So that's okay. So keep that in mind. Once I've got these things set, we're on my baking sheet. So I've put on tin foil, shiny, shiny side up. That'll reflect the heat better. Once I've set that in, I'm just gonna pour this all onto my baking pan. Give it a little spread out. Keep in mind, you're cooking food. You're cooking it for yourself. You wash your hands. Touch your food. Don't play with your food, just touch your food. Perfect. Once it's all spread out, 350 degrees, we're gonna cook it for about 12 to 15 minutes. Done. Now, I will start a timer for that one. That one might actually finish while we're still going, but I still have some extra already done. Let's go. I'm going 14 minutes. There we go. Perfect. So those are our big sides that I was needing for my dinner lunch side. Now, the trickier one that takes a little bit more time is going to be our egg muffins. So first off, there's the 4 main pieces. Now I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. We're going to do red onion, bell peppers in green, red, and some orange, and mushrooms. So first off, I want to just go over the easiest way that I found to cut up most of these pieces to make it work for the egg muffin as easy as possible. Now, oh, and I'm going to add also some ham to the egg muffins as well. Bump up that protein. Now, bell pepper. Easiest way that I have found to do this is first cut into the top side, spin it full around. Once you get back to that front side, pop this top off. You'll get most of the big side. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people just chuck this whole piece. You can actually, if you just give a small break, you can take these lips off and get rid of everything with seed side. There is still usually just a little bit of seeds on the side. So a couple little easy slices will get you to pull out those little tendrils that are still attached in. Little shake, and we're all out. Now, from there, I'm gonna cut it in half 2 times. So throw it into a quarter, and then I'm gonna make strips. So once again, remember, rest of that back of that hand. Perfect. Now once I have my strips, cut them in half, and that should be about good. Now that being said, if you like smaller sizes, they'll cook a little faster, but you don't need those smaller sizes. So nice and easy. If you have a big one, enjoy it. Once I get all those kind of set in, I'll go for my mushrooms. Now my mushrooms, I get full, these are cremini mushrooms, or your basic like gray mushroom. I'm gonna cut it in half. Easiest thing for me to do here, set it down on the side, and then I'm just gonna cut it along that side, which will leave me with a bunch of about like that, like half of a pizza-sized mushroom. And I'll set those all to the side. Now make sure you do clean these because they come in the dirt that they basically were growing in. And that dirt is usually, I don't know, fertilizer probably. So I don't know, just get the dirt off. I know dirt's not bad. Like everyone used to say, like, eat some dirt, it won't hurt, but take a little bit of the dirt off. From there, your onions. Here's where I go a little bit smaller side. I'm just gonna cut down along the onion. I get left with flat slices. I cut half, and then I just turn. If I wanna go even smaller, I'm just gonna cut down the side here. Boom. Get left with some smaller to medium-sized chunks, nothing too crazy. I'll set that off to the side. Last one, my garlic. I'm just gonna cut down, small side. This is gonna be real tiny marks. Once I've cut it all down and given these kind of like flat sides, I'm gonna bunch it all up and I'm just gonna go kind of nuts. You don't have to be crazy accurate with this, so make sure your hands or fingers are out of the way. That's why I'm holding the knife down with my hand. And I'll have my set. Now, I take all these ingredients. I throw the garlic on a hot pan with some oil. Make sure to measure out that oil. And then I throw in my onions and my bell peppers. I let those all cook for a bit. Then I throw in the mushrooms because the mushrooms are gonna cook really fast. Now, saute it all up in a saucepan. What I'm gonna be left with is a big old bowl that looks like this. So we're now all cooked up, nice and soft. Keeping in mind, I'm trying to keep a lot of the water out of that while it's cooking. So I want to hear that sizzle. Like I want to hear that things are actually kind of getting crispy a little bit. Now, granted, it won't get crispy. It's going to break down and become a little bit more jelly. Now, once I have my giant bowl of veggie side, I'm going to have my giant bowl of eggs. I know I can't tip it over. I'm just going to spill it out. So I have a muffin tin that has 12 spots in it, 12 muffins. So when it comes to 12 muffins, what I want to do is I'm going to do 6 whole eggs, and then I'm going to do 6 egg whites. Whole eggs are easy, guys. Break it open. You're in. Throw away the shell. Don't let any shell get in there, or else it's going to be a crunchy ride. So when I want just the egg whites, you can buy egg whites in a carton. If you are ever wondering, what is the composition of an egg is about 60 grams. 20 grams of that, about a third, is going to be your yolk. And then the 40 other grams are going to be your egg whites. The bulk of your fats come in the yolk, and a bulk of your protein comes in your egg whites. So if I want to increase my protein, but I don't want to particularly increase the fat of my meal, go with egg whites. If you're going to do that a bunch, get a carton of egg whites. If you're going to be cooking ever so occasionally with egg whites, then just use your eggs. It's okay to get rid of some egg yolks. If you really wanted to, you could save them for later. Maybe you know a baker who wants to make something really, really tasty, then they're going to use those egg yolks, like béarnaise sauces and delicious happiness. Anyways, how do I go about getting the egg white out from the egg? Easiest way I have found. And this is just life. Like every mother in the world knows this one. Anyways, I'm gonna break my egg in half, and it's just gonna drain out initially most of that egg white while it sits with the yolk on that inside. I'm gonna just pass it back and forth, slowly and surely, until basically all the egg yolk, what I like to call egg snot, is out. Now, once I get left with that, it's just a little bit of a yolk inside that shell. I'm just gonna toss that. I've already gotten almost all of these except for 2, so I'm gonna get to do it one more time here. Crack them in half. That was a perfect crack. Oh gosh. Anyways, throw that egg white in there, rotate it back and forth. Keep in mind that egg yolk, man, it's super solid for the most part. Unless you whack it on some very sharp edge of your eggshell, you're gonna be left with just such a perfect little egg yolk inside there. I'll just toss that to the side. Now, egg, incredibly viscous. I'm just gonna take a fork and give it a good whisk in there. I can be pretty aggressive because it has a good amount of yolks in there. It's gonna stay super together. That's one of the things my dad taught me when I was young. Give it a good whipping and it'll work. So once I get that all whipped up, relatively mixed, my next step is just to throw all my peppers and onions and mushrooms and garlic into that egg batter. Now, it's going to be relatively well mixed in as we transfer over to the muffin tin. But do keep in mind, as you mix it, I tend to scoop, like either use a soup ladle or a large spoon, and I'll scoop it into the egg muffin tin or the muffin tin, just so that I can make sure that I get a good amount of veggies for every single one of them. You don't want to get left at the end where you're just like, and that's all veggies with a light egg coating. So once I've mixed those in, the last part that I'm going to mix, and I like to mix this in kind of on top and let it sink into the egg muffin, is going to be just some Black Forest ham. So instead of using like chopped big pieces of ham, you can buy cooked ham steaks and just cut it up into little dicey chunks. This is actually just sliced deli meat. Each one of these slices, one slice is 5 grams of protein. It's 0.5 gram of fat, and there are 0 carbs. So the big thing is, yes, a lot of people will say it. Your pre-sliced deli meat does tend to have, you know, something I've talked to before, sodium. It has a little bit higher of the salt content because it is a preserved meat and it's already cooked. So my easiest way to do this: grab a couple slices, roll it up, and then once I'm all rolled up, I'm just gonna cut it down the side into small strips. And then one time across so that they're a little bit thinner, or not quite as long, I should say. Now, my muffin tin. This is canola oil, spray canola oil. I'm gonna use this to coat liberally my pan. Otherwise, you are not gonna get these things out, or you're gonna get half of them out like the muffin top. And unlike a real muffin, the muffin top of an egg muffin, it's not as good as the whole thing. So you're gonna want the whole thing. So make sure, good coating of the egg muffin tin. So I'm gonna go around and knock that out real quick. Yeah, now I can pull these out nice and easily. Now, as I said, soup spoon. I'm gonna take some larger ladles full, and I'm gonna fill this, I'm gonna say start at about halfway full. I'm already way too full on at least one of these. Halfway full to a little bit more, maybe 60%. There'll be a couple where you hit 70%. I get it. The big side with that is they will fluff up a little bit as well. So keep that in mind. Oh no! That means I went way over. But I am gonna, and Amelia's gonna show you guys. I'm gonna have her do it. She's gonna come around with a smaller little measuring cup and just kind of scoop some of the bigger side. I'm actually just gonna move it over here. So you're gonna scoop some of the bigger sides just over to some of the lesser sides and even them out a little bit. And then once we've got that all evened out, and I'm actually gonna have to cut up a little bit more ham. Sorry, I always look at the wrong camera, so I look like I'm looking not at the screen. And once I get that all set in, so just a little bit more ham. Sorry, 1 second. Just as long as you don't hear me all of a sudden start screaming, we are doing great. That's all I know. It's like, I missed the ham. Cade steak. All right, now I've got my extra Black Forest ham. And I'm gonna come around and I'm just going to drop a bunch right there in the center of each of the egg muffins. So actually, if you wouldn't mind bringing that over here. Give a little to each of these ones. maybe about an ounce of ham per each piece. And here's the thing, is cooking is messy. Don't worry about it being perfect. No one is, not even Matt Frazier. His wife does most of his cooking. If you haven't watched it, Feeding the Fraziers, Sammy Munoz, it's his wife. She is one heck of a cook. Incredible food prepper. There. Now that I've got a bit of ham in each of those ones, guess what? It's still at I've got, actually, it's at 400 for the zucchini. We're gonna bump it down to 350 for the egg bites. And we're gonna have that in there for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now here's the determining factor. You're gonna need this piece of equipment if you start cooking, especially if you start baking. This is an incredibly, incredibly expensive piece of equipment. It is a toothpick, and you're going to use it to stick into the egg bite and pull out. If stuff is left on your toothpick, goo or chunks of egg or whatnot, then it is not cooked enough. Put it back in there for another minute or two. If you put that in there and pull it out and you get a warm and clean toothpick, you nailed it. Awesome job. Take those things out and let them rest. Now, we have chicken, we have rice, we have our zucchini, and we now have egg bites cooking. I'm technically done. I just have to make sure that everything kind of finishes. Then I'll have some big batches of some food. Now, once I have my big batches of food, let's put everything together into some meals. And I've got to move some things around because setting up all this food is not exactly the easiest thing in the world. Oh, thank you, honey. Yeah, I'm snacking already. Black Forest ham is really tasty. So, 3 compartment containers. You can turn it down. Thank you. 3 compartment containers. So these have 2 similar sizes. You can get these on Amazon. They're like $1 a piece. You can get like 12 of them for $12. And then you can stack them within themselves. This is a set of 5 right now. Super easy to deal with, super easy to maintain. I know some people don't really like them. When it comes to making sure that I have good, healthy meals, I just haven't really found anything that works as efficiently and as good. Large containers are great for many meals, but when it comes to, like, I don't want my cottage cheese mixing all up in my strawberries. Gross. So that's why I really do love my department containers. Now, as I'm going to set up a meal, you can hush up with yourself, okay? I'm going to start off with some of the dinner side. So, a bunch of pulled chicken that we cooked earlier. This is 3 chicken breasts. I have my cooked zucchini. So this is 1 zucchini that I cooked earlier, and I got another one in the fridge right now, or in the oven right now. And then the last portion of that is going to be my cup of rice. Ta-da! Turned out just wonderfully. So, as I'm setting these up, here's one of the easiest ways we can do this. 1, my scale. Turn my scale on. Set it in the center here. Place my 3 compartment container on the scale. Zero it out. It already zeroed because I had this on as it was starting up. And then make sure that it's set to something that you use for your measurements for whatever piece you're putting onto your plate. So I'm going to start with ounces. So I'm going to start with my pulled chicken. So pulled chicken, I'm going to throw on. Now, for most people, you're looking at about 4 to 8 ounces is your range side. So that's like big dudes and small people. Big people, smaller people. And by that, I mean like height and overall size. You're going to be looking at that higher count, that 8-ish ounces. I'm going to just go with 6. Let's go with 6 right in the center for me. That'll get me easily a good 30 grams or so. I'm just going to set in as much as it takes until that thing says 6 ounces. Now, once I've got my chicken in, I go for my starch side. So I can do this with ounces, or what I can do is I can use my measuring cups. This is 1/3 of a cup. This is about a perfect amount for a starch. 1/4 cup, 1/3 of a cup, 1/2 of a cup is about as high as you would go with starch. So I'm just gonna use this. This is 1/3 of a cup. And then I'm just gonna knock that into my separate bin side. Last little portion. I have a fork around here. There it is. Not an exact science. My last little portion, now I'm gonna zero this out. So I know exactly how many ounces and or grams, if I wanted to do it, of my vegetables I've set in. Set in. Boom. Let's do that. 6 ounces. Now, I've already set up my meal. Pulled chicken. I've got my glorious, thank you, Jacqueline, zucchini, and I've got my rice. I hate just rice. Like, does anyone just eat? Gross. So what I got is just, and this actually helps when you throw it in the microwave. I swear, big trick. Soy sauce. I know it's shocking. Just a little dose on the rice. For me, that's all I really need. If you have other things you'd like to add sauce-wise, just make sure you're calculating that into your macro side, in your MyFitnessPal, so that you know, like, the chicken side. What is that going to be? I tend to mix the chicken in with all of these pieces, so I don't have to worry too much about it. I could have used just a simple container, but that's what I get left with. So there's one very simple lunch or dinner. Now, we made zucchini, but I can do a ton of things here. And I can do these really simply if I wanted to. For example, I can just throw a bunch of broccoli in here. And when I throw it in the microwave, it's going to steam itself. Done. One of the, and I've mentioned this before. Oh, it is? Oh, it's way up there. Green beans. A can of these. 3.5 cups of green beans, cut up, already cooked. Crack it open, pour out the water, throw it in, boom. A can of these, for most people, could probably do about 2 meals. I'm weird. I'll probably eat the whole can in 1 meal because they're delicious and tasty. Now, keeping in mind, if I'm going to start to go like every single day, all I'm eating is canned food, yeah, then I'm going to start getting into that salt count a little bit higher. But keep in mind, these are great options to make something super easy at that time. Salads, you could have used that chicken for the salad and just made that as your greens. Throw some carrots in there, maybe some tomatoes, some onions, some mushrooms. You have a really, really good option for that on the dinner side. And as I said, don't have to use the rice. Maybe I want something a little sweet. I'm going to use that fruit side. Totally cool. Breakfast side. Now, we'll just say, ding, ding, ding. There comes my egg muffin. So these are how they came out. You can see my little burnt ends of a couple of the pieces of my stringy ham. If you did do it well enough with your coating on the bottom, it should very easily just slide out with a fork on the sides, and you can just pull it out full piece. So now, usually breakfast side, I'm going to do about 2 of these. So I'm actually going to throw my 2 egg muffins in there. And because for me, breakfast, for most people, I think, is the hardest time to get your vegetables in, I will look to go to fruits that have lower sugar contents, usually berries. So I'm going to go with some strawberries to throw into this. Keeping in mind, like legit, I have to open in the morning. This is my breakfast, guys. Like I'm not joking. This is tomorrow. I'm taking this to the gym. And at about 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'm eating this. So you want to see what it looks like in life, come at 8 and work out in the open time. Or at 7 or in the open time. 8 is not the open time, my bad. And because egg muffins, you're probably looking at about 8 to 10-ish grams of protein per spot, per piece. It just kind of depends a little bit on how you made it. So that's about 20. I need about 25 to 30 grams per meal for me to make sure that I'm hitting my 140 by the end of the day, because that's 3 meals at about 30. I'll put me at 90. I'll have a snack hit the midday with a protein shake when I work out. That's going to hit about 25. And then I'll be left over with about 25-ish in my secondary snack, 20 to 25 in my secondary snack, so that I can hit my numbers. Kind of crazy to hit those numbers, but make sure you are. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some cottage cheese with it. This is like one of my favorite go-to staples. A lot of people, I go with low fat. So this is a 2% cottage cheese, 2% milk fat cottage cheese. It's 13 grams of protein per half cup. And it's 3 grams of fat and 5 grams of carbohydrates. So you're actually getting a little bit of carbohydrate in there as well. So especially if you're not going with a starch side, or you're forgetting a little bit of that fruit side or something on that morning's hit up. So I'll just do it. I got my half cup scoop. And there I go. I have my berries, my cottage cheese, my 2 egg bites. You know what? Honestly, I'll probably throw a couple more berries on there. Who knows when my workouts happen? It might happen in the morning, and I want to make sure that I'm prepped for it. So there is my perfect little breakfast to go. Now, that being said, I could wake up in the morning, boom, I can have this meal, and I'm good to go. But especially for the mornings when I have to work when I have to be there at 4:30, right before the 5 a.m. class, I will take my breakfast so that my schedule stays similar. And then during my 7 to 9 break, at least from classes, I'll find out a time in there that I can get my breakfast in. It's really hard for me to eat 3:50, 4 o'clock in the morning before I go without introducing an extra meal through the day. So I'd have to really throw off my whole schedule. So I really do want to just keep a nice setup schedule for that as I go through. So that is my meal prep in a nutshell. So that allowed me to have multiple breakfasts, more than 5 for just me. So we have multiple breakfasts for us. We have enough meat and stuff for a good 5 to 6 lunches. Now, we're going to be cooking dinners throughout. So there's going to be certain things that we're going to refresh relatively daily. That's why, especially when it comes to vegetables, even if you make a bulk load of vegetables, they're going to tend to disappear relatively quickly. It's really easy to eat. And especially if you're eating healthily and you're really hammering home on vegetables, they're going to go real quick. So look to see what vegetables you can make nightly, maybe differently, that you can keep supplementing in with your staples, your pulled chicken, your pork tenderloin. We'll also end up making a meat or something. And then I avoid a little bit more on like the rice side. She might have a little bit of extra rice. I'll use rice sparingly around my workouts, etc., so that I know specifically when I'm getting the carb count that I want to hit, so I can hit that perfectly. So that is the nutshell food prep. If you are looking for any of these very specific recipes, which as you saw, it's not crazy specific, but I will give you all the information I can. If you needed any links to the Healthy Steps Nutrition site, that is it. Now, food prep is really honestly one of the easiest things you can do that will save you time to eat healthily in later times. If you are more interested in this is something that you're like, I really need to work on this, or maybe I just need to really dial it in a little bit more, or find out what are these numbers that I'm going to look to hit. We are going to be running a challenge at Kitsap CrossFit, a nutrition challenge, 4-week-long nutrition challenge that is going to kick off on the 17th of this month. So not this coming Monday, but the Monday after that is when that will start. And I'm going to tell you right now, this has been similar with most challenges. I always start my first week of any challenge off with a food prep challenge. I want people to prep some food, whether it's a breakfast, whether it's lunch, whether it's dinner. What is it that you're struggling at? I don't eat breakfast. Let's prep breakfast. Let's do that. So that is going to be one of the major first challenges in our 4-week challenge, our nutrition challenge. So if you are looking for that and you would like to sign up, I'm going to be sending out, you will see the link for this one coming out here to sign up, or you can just message me directly at cade@kitsapcrossfit.com, and I will sign you up for the challenge. The challenge is $119, and it is the 4-week-long challenge. It will have before and after embodies, so you'll be able to see what changes we were able to accomplish during that time, concerning body fat, concerning muscle mass, concerning where that is located, your water levels and how that's going. And it'll also have your weekly challenges. You will have check-ins with me. We will do a kickoff meeting for the challenge next Thursday at 5 p.m. This time, Thursday, 5 p.m. We're going to go through the challenge all online. And then at a time of convenience for you, you can come in and we can even go through the back door. You don't even have to see anybody if you didn't want to. I hope you do want to. And we'll do your embody. And we'll go over some of the basics with MyFitnessPal. Let me know if you guys have any questions. And I really thank you guys for coming out tonight and listening to this. I have it recorded, and later, hopefully tonight or early tomorrow, I will have it uploaded onto YouTube and shared to everyone within Kitsap CrossFit. And you are welcome to share that to everyone. As I've told people at the gym, hey, if you got a friend in Antarctica, send it to them. Hey, wherever it goes, I'm going to be happy with that. So thanks very much. Real quick, anyone who has any questions, now is going to be the time to ask them. And I am going to do my best. Do you consider coconut? Oh, same one. I'm going to try, let's see here. I think I can, participants, I can unmute everyone.
Lee wants to know if you can get the template for the weekly planning. If they can get that.
Template for the weekly planning. Yes, most definitely. I do have that sheet. Let me actually write that down, Lee, so that I send that off to you specifically. Perfect. Does anybody else have any questions? You guys can ask them online right now, because I've sent you to unmute if you can or you'd like to. If you have a question, let me know. If not, you send it in the messenger or just message me later. Totally as well. Totally fine as well.
Cade, what do you do to kind of keep from getting bored of like the same things on repeat? What are some of your like best tricks for mixing it up?
So this is a really good question. Now, I'm going to 100% be honest with you, is that I am, and Dan can attest to this, I am a freak of nature who does not mind eating the same thing over and over and over again until literally I like die of taste bud failure. So the biggest side is, one, the Healthy Steps Nutrition easy recipe side. Always focus on good recipes on that and build as you go. Amelia, she's really good at this. She always finds new stuff for us to make. And what would you say is like some of the best options that you found?
Yeah, so kind of what I do is, like, if we're gonna do something like this with pulled chicken, I'll make it super plain, and then I might like mix it with salsa and put it in a tortilla one day, and then the next day we'll put like pesto on it and put it over a little bit of pasta or like polenta or something like that. Just to try to kind of get different like flavors into it. And then I'll try to just like vary the kinds of meats that we eat too. So I like chicken. We eat chicken most days, but we get pork tenderloin probably once a week. And I like to get ground chicken or ground beef and make, really anything with it. Stuff zucchini with it, with some tomato sauce, like make little meatballs and like put some gravy on it. Just like try to take those basics and just find like different types of sauces that I like and put them on there. I have the same thing for like curry. If I've got curry sauce in there, I can make a couple different types of like curries that are simple, or just that kind of stuff, just to like make it taste different. Because I, unlike Cade, get incredibly bored with food, like incredibly quickly. So I'm usually the one that's putting weird random stuff on it to make it taste good.
And when we do that, we like meal plan. We actually do write out like, okay, Monday we're gonna do chicken teriyaki, Tuesday pork tenderloin, Thursday. we like to introduce a new meal like weekly, where it's like, hey, this is going to be that day where we go kind of wild, and we're going to find out if this tastes good or not. And then we'll rate it. We'll be like, oh, this is a staple now. And then it'll be a staple until either I have burned it to the ground, or she's like, I can't have that anymore, and you're done. So I'm lucky on that side, but those are my best hints for you. And
Yeah, that helps because like I live alone, and so even if I make something that makes 4 servings, eating it 4 times, I'm getting kind of bored by the end.
Yeah, so especially in that case where you're making like something that you're gonna have for 4 or 5 meals, it's like she said, like the best thing you can do is find other, like this is a meal that I used to have when I was incredibly basic as a human being. Was I did spaghetti squash noodles, and then I would do chicken. And then I would mix in on like Monday, I'd throw pesto in there. And then on Tuesday, I threw marinara in there. And then on Wednesday, it was Alfredo in there. And then on Friday. So I just kept doing like a different something flavor, but legit, it was the same stuff every single time. But it did keep me going, this is something kind of different. And
Yeah,
so
so
like
kind
there
of
were
cooking
different
plain and
styles of it. Find the sauces you like the most. Like make sauces. That's going to be the big key.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, hell yeah. I'll take that, I guess, as good. If you have questions, cade@kitsatprospect.com. Just send me an email, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I possibly can. Sound good, y'all?
Yep.
Thank you, Cade.
Thanks so much.